fence as a young man and looking up at the podium and thinking how old that person was that was up there speaking. And unfortunately, that person today is myself. But I remember looking and thinking, wow, that is one old veteran. Memorial Day is predominantly about loss and remembrance. And I've been asked to say a few words today as we memorialize those soldiers, sailors, and airmen who are today in our thoughts. I think about my second cousin, Johnny Mercurio, who died in a mortar attack in Vietnam on the 26th of November, 1967 at the age of 18. And I also think of a fellow Marine, Alan Dale Carson, who died after only his third day in Vietnam in Quang Nam province, an entire world away. This solemn day that we commemorate today and across America stands from the 1870s. And just down the road in Waterloo, New York, down our thruway, it became a national holiday because families would recognize and remember their dead from the Civil War. At that time, the memory of the Civil War was fresh, and death touched every single family. That war alone, over 620,000 soldiers died during 5 years. And in all of the wars since then, 1.2 million men and women have died in the service of this great country. As I look out over the crowd today, I see many veterans are here. And though you were not tasked to be here, you came to pay homage and to listen to these few words. And so you continue to fulfill that duty, the same as that first day when you raised your right hand to defend the Constitution. And to the numerous citizens here today as well who never donned the uniform, you are the backbone of the society today. As President Lincoln stated in the Gettysburg Address, it is for us, the living, to be dedicated to their unfinished work. That is, a government by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth. And so it is to us, the living, to remember the voices forever stilled in their youth that fought for our freedoms. As a physician here today in Syracuse, I have the privilege of visiting veterans in their home daily, and I get to hear their stories and personal recollections. For those who served, be it in peacetime or war, Memorial Day is a time to recall their lost friends and perhaps tonight raise a glass in their honor. Last week I was in Camillus, in the home of a 98-year-old fighter pilot who was shot down off the coast of Africa by Nazi anti-aircraft fire from a battleship. We talked about that fateful day, but he didn't want to talk about himself, the day his plane plunged into the ocean, and with it, his dear friend Merle Kinney. Merle died instantly when the plane was hit, but Merle was apparently a great character as well. And I quote, "He was the nicest guy you could ever imagine. He played piano like he was a master, and so he got us into all the clubs, and maybe a fair amount of trouble too. He was the best. He was from Ohio, and boy, could he sing." And as he told me this story, which occurred over 75 years ago, he began to cry as he remembered his friend. Today, I remember my classmate, Tommy Bates. Tommy was a writer and a poet, and he was so talented at the age of 20 that he was authoring plays off of Broadway. Tommy and I studied at the Language Institute in California. And when I learned of his death in Saudi Arabia at the age of 28, only 28 years old, I was consumed with thoughts I had of him and my remembering his smiling and how beautiful his writing was, and how his talent would forever be stilled by his death at 28. Like Merle Kinney, he was the best and nicest guy you could ever imagine, and very mischievous too. Having attended West Point, many of my classmates have gone on to great success. And today I can count the Secretary of State, the current Secretary of the Army, and several 3- and 2-star generals and even a 4-star general as friends. But we all have one thing in common. We all remember our classmate, Tommy Bates, and how that affected us at such a young age. If I could quote something I found the other day on the internet, this was from Tommy's roommate, and he wrote in his online obituary, "I was Tommy's roommate, and while we were at West Point together, he challenged me numerous times to think rather than blindly accept what others were doing or seeing or saying. He had a great wit about him, and he could make anyone laugh. And like others, I knew that Tommy would go on to be a great playwright or actor or something better than the rest of us, destined to live our lives on a stage that was set by others. Tommy was a leader and had God-given talents that accepted everyone. Tommy was the first and only casualty from the war that I heard about, and his death saddened me. And to this day, it saddens all of us. And I'm sure if we think within our own families, we can recall a father, a mother, an uncle, or a grandfather who served and who is no longer with us today. And that is the purpose of today. If I could think to personal recollections, I could fill hours at this podium, but nobody wants to hear that. I think when we gather at events like this and we speak the names of the departed, that we remember them in spirit. And I think today we should fly the flag in our homes and in public places and be present for parades that honor those who are currently serving. And we should encourage service. Service, be it with the military or with our firemen or with our police, but not just public actions alone. We need to be more than sunshine patriots. We should possess an appreciation for what we have in our community and in our nation on a daily basis. Our parents, the older generation, were joiners, and their parents as well. Today, I think it's too easy to stay in our homes, to be consumed by television or video games or smartphones. And so I encourage those listening to become civically engaged, to volunteer, and become a true member of this community on more than holidays or public observances. So as we retreat today into our 3-day weekend and fire up the barbecue for the unofficial start of summer, we can treasure the ability to pursue our own life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that was denied others. We can eat ice cream outside. We can watch our children play sports. We can grow old in our homes without the fear of war. And we can sleep in our beds without the worry of arrest. And today, we can speak our minds openly and practice any faith we prefer. And we should know that the world over does not experience these fundamental guarantees. And we should recognize that free men and women died to secure these liberties. And so I ask you to remember on this Memorial Day the sacrifice of Merle Kinney and Tommy Bates, of Johnny Mercurio, Wayne Laughlin, John McHugh, and Joe Pastana, all personal friends that permit us today to live under freedom as Americans and enjoy the rights that we possess. Thank you.